Welcome to Digital Asset News. We're taking top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and breaking them down into bite-sized pieces. Today, do something a little bit different. First of all, I sent out a poll and I asked two different questions. The first one was, have you seen and reported crypto scams in the last month to YouTube? And also, which cryptocurrency and digital asset made the biggest gains in terms of adoption in 2019 and why? The answers were both shocking and eye-opening. Also, we took a look at Roger Ver of a video that he made back in 2012 as to what the direction was going to be for Bitcoin back then and what people said back all those years ago and how it correlates to today. Also, Mr. B XRP, fellow YouTuber, made a fantastic video about the psychological factors and to have a plan during the next parabolic bull run. And these were two great things, but we need to answer one more question, which was, how much time do we really have during a parabolic bull run? And finally, this episode has been brought to you by eToro. Now, I didn't know anything about eToro until one of my viewers turned me on to it because I was trying to find a place to buy Cardano and I couldn't do it because I live in Texas and Binance US will not let me buy anything because I live in this great state. So I signed up and I didn't realize this, but you can do this thing called copy traders and you can look at all the different traders. Hey, look, there's Data Dash. And you can copy traders, look at their portfolio, match them up, and you can trade exactly what they do. You can do this virtually, where it's like you don't use any of your money, you just do it virtually, and it's kind of like a monopoly money type of thing. Or you can go live on a real portfolio. Thought it was interesting. I'm going to use it for just to buy Cardano. But for you, if you want to sign up, there's a link in the description below where you get $50 for signing up and the channel gets $50 for you signing up. So win-win. Let's get into it. First up, this was pretty amazing. The first question that I asked for this poll, and we had over 307 votes. And I just talked about, hey, have you seen and reported crypto scams? And I didn't think there was going to be a lot of people that really talked about this or would actually answer in the affirmative. And out of 307 people, 63% said they've seen it. And what was even worse was that 10%, so around 30 people or so, had been victims of the scams. Now, some of you out there are watching this video and going like, well, how could they do that? How would they know? Well, listen, if you're new to this space, you're going to fall victim to that kind of junk, and that's just how it goes. So don't be all high and mighty and look down on people because they got scammed out of their hard-earned money. I think we should really rally around these people and be a little bit more supportive. So I was looking at all these different things, and I'm like, man, how can we stop this? Because as I'm going through the comments, and you can definitely do this in the community section here, like one guy, NK Wright, he lost a quarter of a Bitcoin a couple of days ago to one of these scams. I feel like an idiot. And then we had, who else was it? The Real Rick. He goes, I did one, pissed me off, crypto is hard enough with freaking killer sharks. Yeah. And then there was a couple other ones down here. One person said that they had just gotten into it and they didn't realize like that's how it was. I thought that was how like you got airdrops. So look, I mean, if you're new to cryptocurrency and digital assets, you don't understand. I get it because it's just so new. So I am open to any and all ideas because a lot of the different people that did say that they reported it, they just keep popping up and popping up and popping up, and it's like whack-a-mole, and there's just so many out there. So if we could collectively all come together and think of a great way, because I mean, look, we've been every time I see one, I report it to YouTube, and they don't do squat. It's just like, I mean, they may do something, but they just keep popping up again. But it's weird though, because I don't know if they really do anything, because it's the same live stream, it's the same channel, everything's the same. So I'm like, are they really doing anything? And really, should they be held responsible for all these different scams that are on their platform? I think, you know, they have a community policy and it says no scams. They're responsible for these types of things, but I mean, it looks like it's just kind of falling on deaf ears. Anyhow, if you have a suggestion or you know of a better way to get rid of these things, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to implement it fast because we can't let this kind of trash happen. It's just not right. So that was this. Let me scroll. Man, there's a lot of comments on that one. And then for the next vote, I asked simple question, which one made the biggest gains? And 77% was XRP, Bitcoin 14%, Ethereum only 4%, which is odd. And then we had the other, which was 5%. And not many comments here, because this is what I think. I think people get so emotionally wrapped up into a project that it's just like, well, yeah, it's gonna work. Why is it gonna work? Well, it's just gonna work because it's gonna work. Well, why? Why do you say that? What's the numbers? What do you have behind it? And look, I get it. I mean, I don't care what your coin is or whatever else. I mean, if one goes up, great, they all go up. What's good for one is good for all. But I was just curious as to why people said it. And I know I talked a lot about XRP. I attract a lot of people in the XRP community, and Bitcoin, I don't really get as many as I used to. I mean, I don't understand why. I mean, I just talk about XRP like I'm like, hey, I think it's going to work out pretty well. If you notice in my portfolio, I hold more Bitcoin. And I mean, I think the information on Bitcoin has been done to death. If you don't know what Bitcoin is, there's plenty of videos out there that explain it, but there's so much misinformation about XRP. I feel it's kind of like one of those things where I need to educate a little bit more and put out the best information that I possibly can, because I think it's a sleeping giant, honestly. Now, Bitcoin, I think, is going to do well regardless, because it's in the mouth of every person, not every person in this space, we'll say, and institutional investors and different things that are getting rolled out. So I don't think Bitcoin needs another champion like myself. I think it's doing just fine the way it's going. So that's just what I see. And I just want to say thanks again also for everybody who had answered the poll. All right, next up. This one was interesting. It just popped up in my feed. I don't know how it got there, but I was like, what? August 4th, 2012, Roger Ver. I go, this ought to be good. So I listened to the whole thing, and it's actually a fun video. I mean, Roger Ver is like a kid in this one. He's reading from a script. He seems he seems confident about it, but just a little unsure of how he's saying these types of things. And if you ever listen to him on the news today, he's got a message that does not stop. It is the same bullet points, bing, ba, bing, ba, bing, because he's doing it for so many years. But back here, these are in the early days. So there's like a snippet of 11 seconds. I thought it was fascinating what he said right here. Take a listen.
That time. In the last year, Bitcoin prices dropped from $10 to $2 and have been steadily climbing ever since to the $11.10 they are currently. Real venture capital has started flowing into Bitcoin.
So right there, it lost 80% of its value, in just a short amount of time. So I thought about this, and this is the same type of knock that all the cryptocurrency digital asset space gets. People look at things of value, and they don't look at what's behind it, the technology, all the different work that's gone into it. They just kind of think like, well, it's not priced that high, so it must not be worth anything. There's this trick in sales that sometimes if you just raise the price, people start to buy it because they think that it has value, even though nothing has changed. It's just that the price went up. So like with this, I have to ask the question to everybody on this channel, which is, just because an asset loses 80% of its value, is it really a scam or a piece of junk? Or is it just undervalued? I think that's the question that we have to ask ourselves, especially with the different assets that we have right now. I mean, look, any coin that you have can go down at any minute or any moment. But if you look at what's going on underneath, the track that's being laid, the infrastructure that's happening, the deals that are coming about, do you think it's really junk? Or do you think that's just undervalued? And that's the thing that I was thinking about when I watched this video. But this was the great stuff about the actual comments section. So you can sort these by the most recent. So someone says, no one's laughing at him now. I can only imagine. And then it goes from 7 months. But let's start at I highlighted some from years and years ago, because I thought it was just interesting how people would I think this is it. This was 7 years ago. Okay. So Dan says, this was good. If Bitcoins don't start flowing in transactions for goods and services in the near future, it will see another collapse, because the flow of a currency is the most important for it to be successful. Put simply, you have to spend Bitcoins. Let that sink in. So, I mean, these are just the same talking points we had heard. Now, we hear it now that Bitcoin is not some type of spending transaction type of thing. We look at Bitcoin as totally different from now. Now it is just a store of value, right? But back in those days, This is what people, they totally believed it, and you could not shake them on this type of a way of thinking. So I think it's like the same way today. You know, people's minds are a little bit closed, and minds only work, they're just like parachutes. They only work when they're open. So if you see like these types of comments, you're like, well, maybe you could kind of branch out and kind of, you know, look this way and look that way. And I mean, even me, like, I'm wrong all the time. Ask my wife. But I mean, if you have a discussion about it and you come with facts and figures and numbers, I'll listen. But I'm not going to listen to just straight emotion and your feelings about what you think is going to happen. I mean, it has to be backed up. I mean, I'm not discounting everybody's emotions. I'm just saying that if you're going to talk about what's going to be the future in this space, don't just say, well, I feel it's going to happen. Well, it just doesn't work out like that. So need some facts and figures, and try to keep your mind open a little bit as far as like what could actually happen in the future. All right, let's keep going on this one. Oh yeah, this is a good one. This guy says, your argument is complete nonsense. The way Bitcoin is created and who controls it and how it's controlled in issuance is entirely secondary to the nature of the financial instrument itself. Money can only have value when it is exchangeable for something of real value. This is impossible for Bitcoin to sustain because it attempts to create value out of thin air. And then this guy, or this lady, I don't know who it is, they answered perfectly. Did you know all the money in the world was created out of thin air? Just a matter of human crowd psychology. Is money created of nothing by few self-confident people, exchangeable for something of real value or not? Perfectly stated here. But it's like you can tell people one thing, but they're just stuck in the way that they are. That's just how it is. Let's see if there's anything else good. One could argue that gold isn't backed by anything either. Very true. Somebody says it's a scam, and someone LMAOs. And this was a good one. I was going to get into it back then, but the whole Mt. Gox thing scared me off. Again, when I'm preaching about regulation, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. This guy, Mr. Mixelplick, 6 years ago, imagine if he could have got in, you know, regulation came in, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna buy Bitcoin at $10 or whatever else. How happy would he be right now? Now, you gotta take risks. I mean, the greatest rewards comes from the greatest risks. However, these types of things, this is what is stopping a lot of people from getting in, because there's not enough regulation. And that's just how it is. We need more people to come in the space, and we can't just wall ourselves off. So I just thought it was interesting. If you get a chance, I'm going to link this in the description below. Oh yeah, my last part here. Vladdy says, after doing lots of research, I'm still convinced Bitcoin will get the ETF and blow past 1,000. And there's a lot of different things in this comment section which keeps talking about the ETF, which I thought was amazing, because we've been talking about ETF when I got into it in 2017, 2018, 2019, and it still hasn't happened. And everybody thinks that ETF is the way to go, and it's the only way that things are going to raise up. Didn't work like that in 2017. All it was retail investing, and there wasn't that many institutions coming in. It was just people who were speculating, and it worked out okay then. Now we've built a lot of infrastructure. Let's see what happens without the ETF. I still think we're going to go way above an all-time high. Next up, Mr. B XRP. Now, he's one of the YouTubers I listen to every so often. Pretty steady guy, just kind of says his business and then off he goes. But this one was a really good video, because I can tell you guys about an exit strategy and, you know, why it's important, all that stuff. Mr. B goes above and beyond. He talks about the psychological factors. The thing is, just watch the video, but just a snippet is this. If you think you can control yourself during a parabolic bull run, you're going to be surprised, because you're going to start to think, you know what? All these things are happening. There's all these things coming in, and you know what? Maybe it's going to go a little bit higher. I'll sell tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and, oh, maybe it does, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But if you don't get everything reined in and in check, then it's what's gonna happen to me, and actually what happened to Mr. B XRP, same thing. You're gonna be holding bags for years and years and years. And don't sit there and fold your arms and be like, that'll never happen to me. That'll never happen to me. It's gonna happen. It's going to happen to most of you unless you have three things, essentially, and we're going to get into that real quick. So, psychological factors, 2 is going to be have a plan. And the last thing that we really have to ask the question is, how much time? How much time do we really have during a parabolic bull run? So let's take a look at that right now. Okay, so we have our overall chart here. This is a Bitcoin chart going for about 7 years, from July 2013 to January 2020. All right, so the question is, how long do we have for a particular parabolic bull run? Because as you can see here, this is a very long line of nothingness for years. Those are called the bear markets, and they suck, and it's been a big pain. But what happens when we get over here? How much time do we really have when this thing goes parabolic, which means it goes straight up? Let's take a look. So if we want to take a look at the start, that'd be around November 12th, 2017 for this last parabolic bull run. Now, some people might put it a little bit more to the right, some people might put it a little more to the left, but let's just say it starts around here. The price was $5,870 and the market cap was $97 billion. So remember, this is November 12th, 2017. So what happens when it hits the top, and how much time was that? So we take a look at November 12th to December 17th. It went from around a little less than $6,000 all the way up to almost $20,000 in 30 days. Amazing. So really, when we look at these types of things, we're like, wow, we've got a month to decide where's the top and how much we're going to take, and how much psychologically we can actually handle and make sure that we get rid of or sell out our positions. Because if not, it's very easy to go, well, it was 6,000 down here, and now it's 15, it'll go up. Well, now it's 18, it'll go up. Now it's 20, it'll go up. Oh, it went down to 18, it'll go back up to 20. Oh, it went to 16. I'm sure it'll go back up. What? 15,000? See where I'm going with this? You have to be set and ready to pull the trigger, because if not, you will be a bag holder like me and Mr. B. So that's how it goes. So moving forward, what's going to happen if you don't? There's this thing called a slow burn. That's what I call it anyhow. And there's just this big descending, I guess it just goes down the toilet, and you're just looking at like 2 months when you're kind of hoping and praying that it kind of goes up. And sometimes it does go up a little bit, and you're like, oh, okay, it'll go back up to the original amount, and it just keeps slipping and slipping and slipping. So from December 17th, 2017 to February 5th, now you're wrecked. You went from essentially about 6,000, you could have sold out at 20, and now you're back down to 6,000 again. And it all happens in a very short amount of time. And the problem the problem continues on, because as time moves forward, you can drop down to like what we did in 2019, which was 5,000, then 4,000, then 3,000. So even if you got in at a pretty low amount over here at 6,000, you still got wrecked over here. So you must be prepared to pull that trigger. All right, let's take a look one other type. So let's take a look at XRP. Here's the overall type of market. You can see this. There is nothing going on. I mean, little blips here and there. Then there is this Mount Everest parabolic spike. So when did that happen, and how much time do we have? So if we take a look at this, it's going to start December 9th, 2017. That makes sense, right? Very base of Mount Everest. So okay, so we go from December 9th, 2017 to, and this is the end point. We're only looking at January 5th, 2018. Again, roughly about a month, give or take a couple days. You've got a month to decide. It goes from 25 cents to $3.26. So all this time that you have toiled and waited and hodled, all this comes down to 30 days. 30 days. Are you sure that you can pull the trigger? Are you sure? A lot of people say they can, and then when it comes down to it, same thing. They just get caught up like, it'll go back up, or it'll go even up, it'll go even higher, because there's these bars and this technical analysis that says that it's going to go up, and I think it's going to look. I don't know what to tell you about technical analysis. I mean, I'm sure it's great for some people, it doesn't work for everybody, and I'm just going to tell you that you need to have a plan of action. If you don't have a plan, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Now let's take a look. So this is again another what we call a slow burn. So you got 2 months just to kind of look at everything, look at all your profits get eaten away. down and up and down and up, and maybe you make the right decision, maybe you don't. Maybe you sell at the top of this descending channel. Maybe you sell down here, and then it goes up again, and you kick yourself. Then it goes down, it goes up, it goes up. So if you do something like this, it's going to be very painful for you. I can tell you from experience. And then what happens after this slow burn? You're in a wasteland, and you're in a wasteland for years. What I mean by that is you're essentially just walking the wasteland, just out there, just hoping for the next bull run, just waiting for years. There's nothing in sight, just your bags as you're holding them, trudging along in a never-ending pit of doom and despair. It's not that bad, but it does suck, let me tell you that. So what do you do? What can you do to avoid this? It's very simple, my friends. Take it from me, take it from experience. You can learn from mistakes, but they don't have to be your mistakes. Here's what we need. It's called an exit strategy and limit orders. So we've already talked about exit strategies, and I've actually revised mine, and this is what we're going to go over next as far as the things that we need to do. So let's break into that. So here we have our what I call my 2 Bitcoin exit strategy. Let's just say, for example, I had 2 Bitcoin, and I don't, by the way, but let's say I did have 2 Bitcoin. What you're going to want to do is just kind of think to yourself, okay, where do I think Bitcoin is going to sell off at, right? Or how high or how low do I think it's going to go? So I believe it's going to go up to 250,000 and above over the years. Okay, I don't know when. I mean, I have an idea of I think when, and there's different videos I talk about that, but that's not for here. We just want to figure out an exit strategy. So let's say that within the realm of reason, it is January 10th, 2020. I think we can get to the all-time high back 2 years ago, which was around 20,000, okay? So I learned this from Mr. B XRP, and he said that if you are looking for round numbers to sell off at, it's not really you can do that, it's fine, just not a great strategy because everybody's going to do that, and there's only so many sell orders that the exchanges can fill. I mean, within reason. Now, maybe during a parabolic bull run, everything gets filled, but you want to make sure that your orders are filled. So when you put it in at $20,000, that someone's going to say, I want to buy that, or multiple people, I want to buy that for 20,000. Or you can do what is a pretty good example here, is instead of going for round numbers, mix it up a little bit, because a lot of people are, pretty basic. They're going to go for the 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, just round numbers because it's super simple. Why don't you just do this? Instead of saying, well, I think it's going to be at 20,000, just back it off a little bit and go for these odd numbers. So maybe 19,902, 19,876, or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, but around the number where you think that Bitcoin might sell off. So for me, I think that we're going to hit an all-time high again. It should be super, not simple, but attainable. So I'm going to sell 10%. So 10% of my 2 Bitcoins, that would be 0.2 Bitcoins. And what I'm going to have left is 1.8. Makes sense, right? 2.0 minus 0.2 is 1.8. All right. If it's at 20,000 and I sell 0.2 or 10%, I'm going to get $4,000. Fantastic. Made some profit. Everybody's happy, right? Now I'm not going to sell until it gets to around 50,000. Again, I'm going to back it off a little bit, maybe 49,980. I'm going to sell 10% of that. So 10% of 1.8 is 0.18. And I'm going to have 1.62 Bitcoin remaining. So 1.8 minus 0.18 equals 1.62. So if I'm going to sell 0.18 times 50 grand, I'm going to make 9,000. Fantastic. Everything's good. And I just keep going down the list. But what I want you to be aware of, I never sell everything, because who knows where it could go, and you don't want to kick yourself later, right? So you see here at the end, I still have a little more than a half a Bitcoin. I got 0.6. So let's say that at some point, Bitcoin goes to $500,000. Okay, I'm not kicking myself for selling over here, but I stay regimented. I can pull the trigger. I know what's here. I don't have to deal with the psychological factors of, well, should I wait? I know I said this number, maybe I should. No, it's set in stone, done dealing. And if you want to make it even easier, here's another example. I just said 0.25 all the way down instead of making different numbers. So I'm going to sell a quarter when it hits 20,000, a quarter when it gets 50, a quarter when it gets 80, so on and so forth. And you can see that the total is pretty close, right? But the total is not too shabby, and hopefully make out pretty well. So that's one example. Let's take a look at the XRP exit strategy. So same type of thing, I believe, and actually I changed this a little bit. So the all-time high, 2017 that we just talked about, was $3.40. So I'm going to sell at $3.18. Okay, let's say I have 30,000 XRP, which I don't, but it'd be nice if I did. So I'm going to sell 5%. 5% of 30,000 is 1,500. So if I sell 1,500 at $3.18, I'm going to make a profit of 4,500 bucks. Great, I still got 28,500. Now I'm going to wait till it gets to around 10. I'm going to sell at $9.92. See where I'm going with this? I'm going to sell 10%, which is going to be about 2,850. I'm going to have 25,000 left, and I'm going to make 28,500. Pretty good day. Not too bad for just sitting around doing nothing. And then 19, and then 29, 49, 74, 99. Who knows what makes that? But I want you guys to notice again, I never run out. I still got a little bit left in the tank, because who knows? We don't know. Now, if you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you think I'm crazy. And if you're an XRP maximalist, you still think I'm crazy. Because either or, you're like, that coin will never happen because XRP and Bitcoin and Ethereum and Tomato Coin are awesome. I don't care. You have your, whatever you think is awesome, great. Have fun. I'm not here to change the world. I'm here to make a profit. And yeah. So if it changes the world in the process, so much the better. But I will tell you this, I'm going to root for every type of cryptocurrency and digital asset out there, because what's good for one is good for all. And when the water comes into the harbor, all the ships rise. And I'm okay with that. So that is our first part of our strategy. The second part is, well, how do I make sure I pull the trigger? Because you could still be like, you know what? I know it's on my sheet, which is on my computer, but I think it'll still go up. And you could very well do that. So here's the second piece of the puzzle. If you have a Coinbase account, you're going to go, if you have a Coinbase account, you have a Coinbase Pro account. All you have to do is log into Coinbase. And then once you go to Coinbase Pro and you just hit on sign up, or sorry, log in, it'll say, well, it'll do some type of cross login type of procedure, and you'll be in Coinbase Pro. Works out pretty well. Everybody's happy. Fantastic. And the reason why we have to use Coinbase Pro is because, well, first of all, transferring funds between the two, there's no fee. And second of all, you can do this thing called a market stop and limit orders. You cannot do that on Coinbase Regular. Now you can buy any type of digital asset, cryptocurrency, week by week on Coinbase or Coinbase Pro, doesn't matter. But you can't do automatic sell orders. And this is the magic piece, the missing piece that you have to do. And as much as I've even talked about it, I just did this today before I made this video. So yeah, you need to have this in place so you know that you can pull the trigger. Now, if you do that, that means you have to leave your digital currency, your cryptocurrency, on an exchange. And I thought you said not to do that. True, I did. So you have to weigh the risks right now. Like if I had 30,000, I'm not going to put 30,000 onto an exchange. What I'm going to do is for those two exit points, so I need 1,500 and 2,850, so about 5,000 XRP. I'm going to take that and put it on the exchange. It's up to you. You can put all your XRP or all your Bitcoin or all your Tomato Coin on the exchanges and just wait for those numbers to hit. But at least do 2 or 3 different price points. So you're not going, I'll sell everything when it gets to, 20x. Hint, hint, that's not going to happen. So we're going to log in. Great. We're going to go to our Pro account. And if you notice here, XRP, there's nothing, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deposit it from my Coinbase account. And there's 2 different options here. So first you're going to select the currency, and let's just pick XRP. 2 different options, crypto deposit or a Coinbase account. I'm going to click on that. And in my wallet, I got X amount. So let's see, I want to take whatever I want to take. Let's see, what was the first one? 1,500. Okay, so I want to take 1,500 XRP, which is roughly $316 as of today. and I'm going to deposit 1500 XRP into my Coinbase Pro account from my Coinbase account. Super simple. Let's see how fast it is. Deposit. Your transaction on the way. Should arrive in about 10 seconds. Fantastic. Let's dismiss. And let's see. And there it goes. So it took 2 seconds. I'm going to let that one slide. I'm going to let that slide. So I got 1500. I'm going to put a sell order in. Not a market, a limit. There's market, limit, and stop. We'll go over the differences in a bit. So I'm going to put in 1500 XRP. And the price I want to sell it at is $3.20. So there's going to be a fee of 24 bucks. That's a bummer, but I'm going to make $4,776. I think I'll be okay. Oh, 318. Oh, excuse me, it was 318. My bad. 318. So I'm going to make this, I'm going to make this, I'm going to place the sell order, and done. Success. That is in the system. I don't have to worry about it. I'm done. I can put another order, and I'm off the books. I'm good to go. So that's the secret sauce. That's the missing piece. And real quick, let's go over what those different terms are. So, an overview of order types. There's a market order, which will execute immediately at the current market price. We're not going to do that. A stop order lets you specify the price at which the order should be executed and is useful for stop loss and similar strategies. Or a limit order, which we just did, lets you set your own price as well as set some advanced order execution options. And there's different things like that, but you can see how easy it is. I don't want to get into the weeds. Just do it like that and it should be okay. And that is it. Now look, I want to thank you for watching this and going through the rants, and that'll do it for today's video. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.